Hey, everybody, this is Scott McMeans with Action Coach SBL, and we have yet another edition of the Business Spotlight. I am tastefully pleased to have Darren W. Carter from Carter's Barbecue with us today. Intrigued to listen to his story. I want you to hear how he's built this amazing business. Darren, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the audience.
Thanks, Scott. First, appreciate you having the time to get me on such a show. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you for that. As I call myself, I'm from Ohio, so I like so a little vain there, but the Darren W. Carter, and co-owner with my wife Teresa of Carter's Barbecue, and I am also the founder of a podcast called The Unknowns Black Pitmasters, where we highlight Black pitmasters and barbecue enthusiasts all over this land. So that is my contribution to the barbecue world.
Fantastic. If I may, when we're done, I'll post the link to your podcast in the description so people get a chance to see that as well. So we'll get
Sweet,
that
thank
link.
you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how Carter's Barbecue got to be, what inspired you to do this business, and how you've made it so successful.
Carter's Barbecue started from, well, the idea, I guess, not even just the business, but just the passion for it started when I was a kid. I mean, we grew up in the suburbs, so it wasn't like my father was roasting hogs and all that kind of stuff. But I do remember what barbecues and cookouts meant for us. And I remember specifically what it meant for the person behind the grill, you know, to see what the faces were and the delight coming from the food that came off of that fire and smoke intrigued me as a kid. And I wanted to do that when I grew up. I wanted to have a family, 2.5 kids, a dog, and a house and a picket fence, the American dream and whatnot. And I want to have the grill and do like my daddy did. So it kind of went that way, but then something changed. I started getting into watching competition shows. That's what it was. And I found out, oh, barbecue is more than just flipping this and, hamburgers, hot dogs, and ribs and chicken. So I had a deeper dive, but as I dove deeper into that, my passion became greater for the art. And I started to learn a little bit more history of barbecue, which even more expanded it. And, we're in modern age, so we have social media. I was posting my food, things that I was cooking. People's like, "Ooh, I want some." "Ooh, yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to give it to you, but you can buy it." So my wife and I, mostly me, encouraging her, I said, well, let's do a dinner sale. She does the sides. I am not a sides guy. She does the sides, and I was like, well, at that point, it was all about my ribs. I had put time into making the sauce, the rubs, and ribs is I can do that in my sleep now. So we had a rib dinner sale. I think we had like the first 60, 65. I think the next one we had like 70 or so. Um, and then we had a little catering job for a banquet. It was the most untimely, unorthodox. It did not work for me. I was late with some things. It was crazy. The food turned out okay, but it was the worst type of first impression you think you can have. And I told
Mm.
my wife, I am never doing this again until somebody asked. And we did it again. So from there, we did things out the house, and then we eventually moved to our church's kitchen and do some things. And back in 20, we were going to, because we started in 19. Back in 2020, we were going to really, we thought, boom, this is going to boost this business. I was still working at the steel mill at the time. I worked at the steel mill worker, and we wanted to really boost the side, but the barbecue is a side business, but obviously we know what that year brought us, and it was not worth us doing that because, you know, all the changes, all the shutdowns, all the restrictions, plus my job schedule, I swear we changed scheduling, every other month and a half to try to fix that, all of us wasn't together at one point in time or whatever. It was ridiculous. So to do
Mm.
something like that wasn't good. So 21 came and was like, yes, we're going to really do this. We're going to expand this business. And I had to get a rotator cuff surgery. So I was out of work and barbecue for almost the whole year. But during that year, though, we kind of sat down and figured out what we were going to do, and we figured out we were going to do a food trailer. So that year, um, we got together. We tried traditional loan. It didn't work. We found a company called Honeycomb Credit, where it is crowd investing. I mean, crowd funding, but from an investing standpoint, they have no equity. But we had a rate. So if you would invest $100, you get that plus interest, which for me, I was like, well, if you're going to invest in my business, I don't mind giving you any more money back because that shows that you trust me and I want to show you that it's going to be a good investment. And we raised enough money to put a down payment on the trailer, the smoker, to get things started. We had it the next year, and my foot got messed up. I was having some issues at work. But through all that, we was like, you know what? Look, life is too short. I'm 53 years old. Though I would love to have 53 more years ahead of me. Naturally, that may not be the case. God willing, yes. But even still, will it be a great quality of life? So sometimes you only get to live your dream once. And after consideration and prayer, we talked. It was like, well, look, let's just do it. Let's just bet on ourselves and let's do it. And as of January 23, left the mill and been doing barbecue ever since. And I can say I am the most tired, most non-sleep that I've ever been, at least in the last 10 to 15 years. But with that, I am the happiest I've ever been in the sense of where it comes to and what I'm doing to make money for provision. And that happiness has led to the growth of the company overall. To make a roundabout answer, that happiness and that freedom, even though it is a different type of concern and worry, it's not the same as for doing something else. So with that, and I've had some things come along the way that has helped. I was one of 6 fellows for Kingsford's Preserve the Pit program. We've got some nice local press around here. The food, I would say, is good, but other people have thought enough to, spread the word. So things are coming into place where makes me happy that we took that leap without a parachute. But we got one now. We're coming down pretty cool. But it was one of the best things I've done as an adult.
I'm happy to hear that. And I love the analogy of just the happiest you've ever been, despite your being so tired. And it's because you're doing something you're passionate about, which
Yes.
I think is a testament that everybody from the audience needs to understand. When you put your heart into something, it doesn't necessarily matter how many hours you're working, as long as it's the result is your happiness. And I'm
Right.
reading this out, and I wrote a note that says, with food that good, it makes sense to sell to the people that want it. So you got to keep going. That's just the
Right.
smartest thing you can do. So when you talk about you and your wife, Teresa, who else is involved in the business? Do you have other employees, or do you work with local contractors? Tell us a little bit about how the infrastructure or how the operation works at Carter's Barbecue.
Being a excuse me, I'm sorry. Being a trailer, we're very light. Usually it's me and another gentleman that works with us, a friend of mine that I grew up with in church. He helps me do that. All the prep and all that is us, basically my wife and I. And then we do have some family. He's an employee. We do employ our family when we have to go to, have a catering order, or we're going to a fair. And that's a little bit more than just me and my friend Steve can handle. So it's all, on a need to be basis. For the most part, it's just me and Steve, and then after that, it just grows to whatever we need it to. I love my family and my friends and my daughter, my sons. They all, pitch in whenever they need to. And they're happy to do it. Pay doesn't hurt either, but they're happy to do it, even without that. And that makes me feel good that they want to be a part of something that their dad is doing, And with that, we are looking to hopefully expand to do some other things that is going to require some full-time employees. But for right now, and I am looking for somebody to help with the prep. People, don't understand, and this is part of the reason why there's such a there's there's food where you can get tacos, hot dogs, hamburgers. Then there's barbecue. Barbecue is 8 to 12 hour just cooking. Let's not
Mhm.
talk about the shopping, the prepping, the cutting, the seed, everything else. It is a very, very long process. And I am looking for somebody now. I'm trying to see, hopefully my son moves over to that part as well to help with the prep, cutting the meat, getting the meat prep and everything. I don't mind staying up 12 hours a night smoking because that's my happy place. Um, but there's, as a business, starting out part-time and then just jumping into it full, you want to try to be as lean as possible, to not having too many expenditures and go broke for nothing, then you're out of business again. So it's a lot of more work on our part, but we're trying to hopefully make the best decisions to add on as needed and as afforded, so we won't find ourselves out or me back in the steel mill or something like that.
Yeah, we don't want that. We're not going backwards. We're
No.
moving forward because you've got something really good going here. There's a strong push to keep you in business.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna do what we can to do that. The biggest challenges that you face from a business perspective, knowing it's a family business
Mm-hmm.
and knowing you're serving a community that doesn't know you necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but your reputation is, in front of you. How do you balance the work with family and dealing with the public? Like, talk to me about that because this is a very unique business for you, right? Not too many people have there's a lot of family businesses, but not family that has to deal with the customers in such a way that you do, because you're a food service that most people come to either from reputation or they've tried it before and they've come
Right.
back. So how does that all work for you?
It's somewhat of a fine line. You remember that they're family, but you also remember that they're supporting the Carter's Barbecue brand.
Mm.
And when it comes down to the Carter's Barbecue brand, it is as we would like it to be. So, when you're dealing with family, some people you kind of they may take things off the cuff. It's like, no, sweetie, this is the way I want it done.
Hmm.
Not this is not your way, unfortunately. And it's I think that there's a comfortability that you have to kind of, you know, let slide sometimes and go. It is a delicate balance. But from what we've started with, people understand the mission, and that is key, whether they're family or employees. If they understand what we're trying to do, and they get me. So getting me is half the battle. If you know how I am and what I do and respect that, then you won't try to do anything purposely, because I know things happen purposely to tarnish that or to make it seem different. Perfect example. My daughter and I, we were at a truck park the other day, and we go to a truck park. We have like 3 or 4 of them here in Northeast Ohio, near the Cleveland area, and it was another truck that was there, and the young lady was just asking questions, and it's like, well, well, do you do this? Well, we do it this way. We do this, and it's like, we're not in competition with you. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Even they've had some of the same things that we did. And I know my daughter, I know that one of the things that this young lady said, if she was not under the guise of Carter's Barbecue that day, she would have told her a difference. Her answers would have been different.
Oh, sure.
Um, but that comes with, again, knowing me, knowing what we're here as a family trying to do, for Carter's Barbecue, the name, the brand, and keeping it in that scope, keeping it in that scope. And when you have people like that, that makes it much easier to balance.
Hmm.
That makes it much easier. And a lot of my family are, they're like me, so they're chatty Cathy, as you can tell by now if you haven't figured that out, and, and they're very outgoing and communal. So it helps. Now, the as we grow, and as more people outside the family and just employees come, that probably hopefully won't be much of a challenge, because hopefully we can discern who comes on to the team. Um, but though those are the wild cards, because I don't know their personalities up front. We don't know their characters. We didn't watch them grow up. They don't know me like that. So those will be some interesting times as we expand and try to bring on more people.
I would agree with you. It's the biggest challenge most people have is finding somebody to follow your vision, your mission, and it fits into your culture. You are unique in that the culture is already embedded for years because you know each other so well.
Right.
It's finding people that can buy into and support the mission that you've created. I am interested to learn, what is Carter's barbecue brand? What is your brand? If you had to describe it in 5 words or less, 3 bullet points, however you want to describe it. Darren W. Carter, what is Carter's barbecue? What is your brand?
Carter's barbecue. I mean, we are dry rub barbecue with a Cleveland twist, which I can never tell nobody, or they'll be found missing, the next day or something. But when you think of Carter's barbecue, I want you to think of one, some of the best slow smoke barbecue that you've ever tasted. Two, impeccable customer service. Impeccable. Whether we want to go over and abound what you may think customer service is. And if you've matched that, if you've experienced that from us, then you experienced the Carter's barbecue brand. And those are the two biggest things for me. I want you to enjoy my food, and I want you to enjoy the experience of coming to see me at my trailer or wherever we are, or catering. Those are the two biggest things for me.
Enjoying the food and enjoying the experience. What more could you ask out of a food truck? That just seems like the best thing you could possibly do. I love
And
it.
it is, sometimes you think it's, I mean, and I say this, and I know some people probably looking in the audience like, well, of course, but have they been to restaurants lately? you know,
It's a
there
very good point.
there are some things that I mean, I go through fast food drive-throughs now, and it's like I started my food career per se because I never really had a food career, but I remember my first job was Burger King. Um, I don't know if I could say that because they're probably not sponsoring this event. So let's say we the Crown people started out with them, and what they instilled. I mean, I've already had my father prior to, and how to act. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Boom, boom. And my parents and my mom, even my community around me. Um, but even with that, it was always a pleasure. How you doing? Just as, can I help you with something? Anything extra? Blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, it's just like, what do you want? What do you mean what I want? You came here to order, right? Oh, no, not anymore. I mean, so, like common sense isn't so common anymore. Customer service is, I don't, unfortunately, I don't expect it nowadays. And is, that is what I think, um, you know, widens the gap between me and a lot of other people, is because you should come to expect that from us.
A great point. I believe customer service is a lost art, and those that find it and execute it well have a longevity that others cannot appreciate because they don't know
Agreed.
what to do. I
Agreed.
commend you for having that as part of your brand, and especially in the restaurant business, when anybody can get into it, for lack of a better word, you've
Mhm.
built a brand that is establishing not only great food, great experience, but the reason to come back to get that food and get that experience, because most people just breeze right over it because they didn't have a good experience. So I commend
Right.
you for that. It's
Agreed.
huge. Um, I think people want to know where they can find you. So I'm going to ask that question now. Where can we find you on any given day? Are there certain days that you work, you don't work? Where can we find Carter's Barbecue?
The easiest ways to find me are socials. On Facebook and on Instagram is where I hang out. Instagram is really where I hang out most of my time. But both of those, Facebook and Instagram, are Carter's BBQ 216. So at Carter's BBQ 216. If you are in the Cleveland area, um, I do put out a weekly text. There is a subscription text service that people can subscribe to. They can dial 833-659-0111 and text the word ribs. Now, with this service, I do not, and I repeat, I do not spam. You will get a message from me once a week in the beginning of the week with my schedule, um, or unless something new comes up or changes. I think this week was the most I had to do something. I sent out my schedule, and we had a mix up at the truck park where I was scheduled, but then somebody took me off the schedule. So I had to retext, out people a couple of times that day that no, I wasn't going
Sure.
to be there, one, and two, wherever I landed up, I wanted to let them know. Um, but those are the best ways to find out where I am. My website, about to, we are in the concept of redoing that. But when that happens, and I don't want to give out the address, well, Carter's Barbecue Online is the website. Excuse me. Now, Carter's BBQ Online. Um, but that soon will be changing, and that will also be a hub where you can find out our schedules and everything like that.
Perfect. Perfect. I just wanted to get that in. Personally, I need to know where I can come get you because I need to try it. And secondly, I know everybody's listening to you talk about this and they want to know, all right, where do I find this? So I'm glad we got that in. A
Thank you.
couple questions for you. I'm really interested. This is a question I asked everybody, and I always am intrigued by the answers because they're always so similar. But I have to ask, what is the biggest misconception that people have about owning your own business?
Freedom.
Mhm.
There's a misconception of what freedoms you have. Excuse me. I'll explain it this way. My son, he's 7 years old. He's been playing flag football for 2 years. He's finally in his tackle, 7U program tackle. So I missed his scrimmage. I take him to practice all the time. I'm not out. I missed his scrimmage, unfortunately, because we were helping with the fundraiser. So we were selling food. He had 3 touchdowns in the scrimmage. His last game was last week. I was on the trailer. Excuse me. 2 touchdowns. My wife took a video of it, and I think I played that thing and almost cried like 50,000
Mhm.
times. Um, I missed it.
Yeah.
These are the things I said I didn't want to miss in entrepreneurship. But when entrepreneurship come now, granted the schedule changed. I would have gotten it if it was on Sunday, but the schedule changed. I wouldn't be able to see that one, but the next two I still wouldn't be able to miss because we had some things already lined up. Yes, you're not, per se under the guise of someone bossing you, controlling you around, even though you really change one boss for another boss because your customers are now particularly your bosses. And yes, we have a little bit more freedom. I can accept a gig or not accept a gig or kind of play with my schedule a little bit. But especially when you're starting, when you're growing your business from, second, ground level, first floor, there are some things that you can't miss. There are some things that you
Mhm.
have to do. Um, if I'm not out there selling, nobody knows I'm there. I can't be home all the time. I need to be out on the trailers as much as possible, and my body allows. Will that change in the years to come? Oh, absolutely. Um, but it's a point of entrepreneurship. I think TikTok and Instagram has gotten some of these people misinformed and
Mhm.
about what entrepreneurship is. It's going to be the hardest work you ever done. But then again, if you love it, it won't be work. But in the constants of time, mental effort, physical effort, it's going to be way more than what you did at a 9 to 5. Because once you're gone from the 9 to 5, you're like, okay, I ain't got to worry about this place till 8:30 tomorrow morning. But you're always thinking about your business. You're always making content. You're always trying to figure out, okay, what's this move? What's that move? You're always doing this. It is your life. So it is an awarding thing. And if you do it right, you can work yourself out and have a great team around you, build a team that people are smarter than you, and then that your business can grow with you not being hands on with everything. But until that time, you're going to have to work it. And then until that time, there's going to be sacrifices. So for me, entrepreneurship, I think people get freedom messed up. They
Mhm.
need to really understand what that freedom means. And freedom never comes without a cost. And people forget that as well. It never comes without a cost. So that's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing for me.
That's a great answer. I think a lot of people have a perception of, oh, you own your own business. You must be one, independently wealthy. You have all this free time to do what you want to do. And one of the individuals I interviewed had a very similar suggestion that you did, Darren, and that is, I'm 100% in when I'm 100% there. But I know I have to challenge myself to separate family and work. and it's tough, but they both know the other one exists, so they coexist in
Right.
my world. And
Right.
it sounds like you've mastered that. Sounds like you're doing great.
Oh, not mad. I'm just lucky right now. I'm nowhere near mastered. I,
uh,
we're just slide through right now. Let's do this in 5 years. We'll reconvene on that answer.
I'll do you a favor. I will come and see you in 5 years because it'll be my 300th visit to Carter's Barbecue in
Oh
5 years.
that is excellent.
Hey, the last question I have is a question that's more on the personal side, but I think it resonates to people when they understand your answer. And that is, what advice do you give 18-year-old Darren W. Carter?
Oh man, I wish. So first of all, find out that you got ADHD, dude. It's gonna help you like forever and ever. I was diagnosed as an adult, and I wish that I knew of, or we knew of, or parental, you know what I'm saying? That I could have got a grasp on that a little bit early in my life. Um, but outside of that, just trust who you are and trust who's in you. Um, you got the goods, you can do it. Take out, don't listen to what's around you, but just listen to what's in you, and you'll be all right.
Sage advice from the guy that's good with ingredients. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Darren, for being a part of this. And everybody else, check the links below so you can get to to Carter's Barbecue. And we'll see you all next time on the Business Spotlight. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you, man.